You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, Movable University, the Universal Tractioning System, Imaging Services, and Zingit Solutions. Let's hustle. Hey everybody, Jim Chester here. This is a Chiro Hustle live stream sponsorship edition, and I have over there Alok Trivedi, who is with me today, and he is coming out of Chicago, Illinois, and I am in Grand Junction, which is in the Grand Valley on the western slope of Colorado, which I like to say it's where no one lives, and I moved here to hear the birds chirp. But Alok, let's dive right on into this if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do this.
So everybody out there that's watching, I'm sure they see you all over the place on Facebook and social media. Let's just peel back the layer a little bit and tell people, who is Dr. Alok Trivedi and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, who am I? That's the philosophical question that everyone's been asking for years, right? I don't know about that, if I can answer that, but I did practice. I practiced for 15 years. And for me, practice was always a unique place. It was a place where I went to go serve the patient. I built a great practice, high volume. I did the high volume thing. I loved it. Very successful practice. Did well in collections, $1 million a year for many years. But for me, it was never just about chiropractic. It was about taking chiropractic to another scale. It was about growing the business to scale it to another level, to where I could take chiropractic to another level. And I fell in love with personal development at an early stage, and I realized that chiropractic for me was about performance. It was not about pathology. It was not about, backs and adjusting. It was about, how do we perform better? How do we be better than we are? And that's kind of the model that I went on, the kind of the process I took. And as I realized and I started to do that, it took me down this journey where I was president of Mental Toughness University for 8 years, where I was, leading businesses, training speakers and that, and working with Fortune 500 CEOs and executives, and then came back to, and then went and started another section of my business. We're at the Aligned Performance Institute, which is about creating entrepreneurship, sales tips, leadership. Really, it's about mastering yourself and mastering your own emotions and process to get you to the state of higher performance and getting through all the junk that's in between the ears. That's really what it's about. And to me, that was the greatest subluxation that existed. And in my opinion, the biggest subluxation that exists is in between the ears, and BJ had said that. And if you can clear that, then you're doing beyond the physical adjustment. That's kind of what I work on.
Yeah, I tell people I'm not a chiropractor, but I help adjust the chiropractor above the atlas all the time. And I didn't know that came from BJ, so it's pretty cool.
I don't know if that came from BJ. I don't know, but BJ used to say that the thought subluxation was the most important subluxation. That's what he used to say. So I don't know if he said that or where I came up with that or where I've heard that, but it's not something new that I've heard in chiropractic for sure.
Yeah, and I think that so many people do have a skewed perception of who they are, and that blocks them from, getting further in their career or their life. And then they have a skewed perception of what they mean to others. And, then they have, a disengagement from what their financial world means to them. They have a disengagement from what their physical health world means to them. They have a disengagement from all these different things. And that's, I think, a little bit about why you came up with the group, The Art of Chasing Success.
Yeah, The Art of Chasing Success is a unique place where people in our groups and our members are able to share stories and people, and it's just a really interesting place where people come and we can actually discuss openly, like, how do we develop more? How do we grow more? And not just about success. It's just about, here are my challenges. How do we overcome this? And it's a unique place for that. But it's really about the art. The idea of chasing success is built off of the idea of fear of failure, right? And the fear of failure is the most important fear that entrepreneurs go through. And everyone has it. It's like one of these fears, right? If you think about it, Jim, it's like you have the fear of failure, and it's either going to stop you from becoming an entrepreneur, or it's going to drive you into becoming a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I'm going to just pattern interrupt here for a second. If anybody's watching this, if you're watching it live or on replay, if you've struggled with success, just hashtag success, and we'll know that we can reach out to you, and you might be able to get some help from either myself or Alok.
Cool. And so, like, the fear of failure is so powerful for people. It stops people from actually producing anything or stops them in their tracks, either one. Now, you get those people. Now, the idea of chasing success only comes because of the idea of fear of failure. And when people fail, it creates this emotional damage. I'll give you an example of this. We have a lot of clients that have gone through bankruptcies, divorces, traumas, financial traumas, that now have this negative associations all built up in their brain around money and relationships and all these different things. And all of a sudden now they've got to navigate their life and go out and build a business and income, and they're stuck. And those are the people that come to me and say, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I've done everything else. This is not a practice management thing. This is not a sales thing. This is not a systems thing. This is in between my ears because I went through this crap. Now I got to get rid of this. That's what we work on. That's really where my meat comes from.
Yeah, and I guess this is one of the questions I ask people on the podcast episode all the time is, what could we accomplish if more people knew about what you're doing?
Well, shoot. It's one of these things that, like in chiropractic, we used to say that, that obviously chiropractic is for everybody, but the more you target niche, the better. The reality is that there's not a human being on the planet that if you could realize how to get over your traumas and over your challenges individually, because they're individually based. Going to just reading books and doing, seminars and rah-rah, that's all great and fine. You're going to feel motivated for a moment. But if you don't go back and you clear the trauma that stopped you early on in your life, it's going to prevent you from moving forward. I hate to say it, but this is reproducible. Now you've got to go to that episode and clear that in the past, or else it's literally going to be patterns that you're living through your entire life, and you're just going to keep playing that pattern. I'll give you another example of this. If someone has a pattern of negative money, they listen to their parents and they had negative associations to money, which a lot of people do, right? Obviously.
Out of control.
Out of control. And if they don't clear those patterns from their mom and dad, them actually becoming wealthy becomes a little bit of a challenge. It becomes a big challenge. And I'm not just talking about the mother, father, teacher, preacher stuff that we've heard before. I'm talking about specifically going into the scientific, into the brain, into the memory, and myelinating and demyelinating the nerves to be able to create these new patterns and new neurons. That's how detailed it has to get.
Yeah, and I know that from my personal perspective is some of these people with money issues, there's not because they're not hard workers.
It has nothing to do with hard work.
They're probably some of the hardest working, most hours clocked people out there.
Jim, that's such a great point, right? It's like I always say in my seminars, I say that, if it was about hard work and wealth, it'd be like there's two different things. Like if it was about hard work, the waitress at the diner or the guy who works in a factory for 30 years, those guys should be gazillionaires. But it's not about that on hard work. And it's more about it's about you and clearing the pathway for you to be able to receive abundance. It's a big difference. There's a huge difference on it.
And I think that leads you into a different level of self-appreciation. And that leads you into another path of understanding that the real core value along the whole path of life is the relationships and the bonds and the way you treat yourself and other people.
Well, you said it great there, Jim. It's about self-appreciation, but self-appreciation goes even further. It's not just about self-appreciation. It's about self-appreciation. It's about who you are and loving yourself and knowing who you are. The biggest challenge we have in chiropractic is that everyone's trying to be the other chiropractor instead of being themselves. And if more chiropractors were actually authentic to themselves and who they are and what they believe in themselves and created self-love within themselves and understood what it meant for them to practice themselves, you'd have a different game in the business. No question about it.
Yeah, and I know that we have some concerns with chiropractors. I was just at Focus OKC down in Oklahoma City with Tim Young and his group, and I talked with a guy named Edgar Everett. And Edgar Everett's a chiropractor down in St. Louis, and I was talking to him about the concerns of why Chiro Sushi started and how Chiro Sushi came into the game to help the chiropractor with understanding success more. And that's where I met you originally, was at the Chiro Sushi #1. But we were talking about the drop-off rate after 5 years of chiropractors not understanding money management, not understanding business skills, and not understanding that it's more than give, love, serve. And he told me minorities have, a 25% success rate after the 5-year period. So I know that there's a real trouble for not only, your run-of-the-mill chiropractor, if you will. But when we start, parceling it down and looking at the numbers of where people are coming from that make up this, that comprise this 50% of, every chiropractor after 5 years doesn't practice anymore, they need to start diving into stuff that you're helping with, I think.
Well, the thing is, right, Jim, it's like, your self-worth is always going to be your net worth. Your self-worth and net worth are 100% correlated. If one is deficient, the other is deficient. You can't expect your self-worth to be low and your net worth to be high. Never going to happen. It's going to be a discrepancy.
So let's take it from this angle. We graduate chiropractors with the highest self-esteem and the highest degree possible with the DC degree, Doctor of Chiropractic. And it feels like as soon as they come out, they have like this 1 year bubble where they're enthusiastic, and then they get shocked. And then they get like this like realization that this is a lot of heavy lifting and it's not easy.
Yeah, well, they get the reality, right? And I don't think that we set them up at all, to be very honest with you. DC, I've heard other people say, the doctor of elated confidence. And it is. It's like we think we're going to go out and save the world, and then the reality of the world has to hit you. Because when you're in a state of pride and a state of ego, thinking that you know more than the entire marketplace does, you're going to get humbled. And every great chiropractor has gotten humbled. And every great person who's built a practice has gotten humbled. But when we're graduating these students out thinking that it's, over elated that they now got to go into the real world. And, it's old tall poppy syndrome. And if you're going to go out and build a business, anytime you're going to go into your life and you're going to build into states of pride, ego, elation, you're going to get humbled by the outside to bring you back to reality. That's why the state, as Jim Parker used to say, the state of love is the state of health and healing and wellness. And that's what it's about. It's about loving the patient, not being inflated with chiropractic.
And this is not a wrong comment for me to say, but when I think about chiropractors, I think they go through this 7 year channel of excellence where they go into undergrad, they go into doctorate, and during that 7 years, they're hustling for school, but they really aren't working their tails off in other aspects of business management. They're not working their tails off and understanding that it's not about the diploma, it's about the patients that they bring in.
Well, let's take it even a little bit further, right, Jim? You're making a great point. In chiropractic, let's just be real. I'm glad we're having a real conversation. Is that you got the 7 year itch when people want to get out after 7 years, and the reason why is because if you're not going to set your life up by understanding your business, by your life and how it serves you to build a business that can serve long term, you're going to set yourself up for the 7 year itch to get the hell out of it because the stress is going to overwhelm you. The more doctors are getting out putting more stress on themselves, the more chaos, the more they're going to leave the profession. And that's just not right.
And that's when they look down the street and they're like, I don't like that guy.
Yeah, and they blame everyone else for their inadequacies rather than looking at the mirror and judging themselves and taking care of their own stuff in between their own years of their own traumas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that that's something that what you're doing with the Aligned Performance Institute, once again, can be a good segue for people to start coming in and clearing some of this stuff up to where, like you said, thank you for the real conversation. They can start having that real conversation with themselves. And, you can give them that training and guidance in order to let them kind of unchain themselves from their old thoughts.
Well, yeah, you think about it, right? Like we're all living a series of patterns. And if those patterns are there and they're old and they're broken down, man, I talk to people every single day and they have a trauma when they're 13 or 10 or 9 years old. And that pattern is running through their head every single day, Jim, every single day. The fear of failure, every single day, they're worried about the fear of failure. And if you have this negative chatter, this noise, this brain noise that's going on inside of you saying that, and you can go out and say everything you want. You can say you're amazing, you're a new patient magnet, all that. But inside, if it's like, man, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing here. I don't like me. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, it's like that saying, Alok, like if you wouldn't accept somebody else talking to you like that, why would you talk to yourself like that?
Yeah, and you do, right? And people, it's like thoughts become things. That's what people say. It's like, just because you say a bunch of affirmations, like I'm so against the whole affirmation vision board. I talked about it at Chiro Sushi as well. Most people are doing these things and setting up fantasies for their life and not being practical in reality. I had a guy, most of my work is actually outside of chiropractic. I had a guy just the other day, he's launching this brand and he's talking to me how LeBron James is going to wear his t-shirts and he's got Snoop Dogg already looking at his stuff. And I said, that's fantastic. That's great. And I said, how many t-shirts are you selling? And turns out he's barely even selling anything. So I said, why don't we get to reality and sell something before we talk about LeBron and Snoop Dogg. And chiropractors need to have that same conversation with themselves and being real in what it is they're actually looking to do, rather than talking about making $100,000 a month. Man, make 5,000, because 5,000 can have a different level of management. Then 10,000 can have a different level of management. 20,000 can have a different level of management. If you can't manage each state, you only grow to the degree in which you can manage. If you can't manage it, you're not going past it.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Dr. Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, Movo University, the Universal Tractioning System, Imaging Services, and Zingit Solutions. Let's hustle.
Dude, that sounds like some Freddie Schofield stuff.
Freddie was my first mentor. I love Fred. Fred's my first mentor. I give him homage the whole way, and he's 100% right. Fred was right, and now I've taken what Fred has given me. I've taken what my other mentors have given me, and now I'm doing it, and I'm taking chiropractic to a whole nother scale inside of corporate, inside of in my seminars, doing 300, 400, 500 people and salespeople, and I'm taking everything I've learned inside of chiropractic and taking it to another stage. At least for me, that's what I want to do.
And I guess that brings up a good point. It's a little off script for what we're talking about, but why is mentorship so necessary? Not just for the chiropractor, but just the average person. Why is mentorship important?
It's everything. You're mentoring, whether you realize it or not. You're getting mentorship. You might as well actively choose it, because if you're hanging around with people that are your friends or your family, your mirror neurons are already going off, and you're already following their lead. You don't even know it. That's already happening. You might as well choose to follow the direction that you want to do. When you're inspired by your life and doing the things that you want to do, that you actually want to grow into, what you're going to do is you're going to find mentors that can serve you and help you get there. I have tons of mentors in every area, and I always have, and I always will. Jim, I'll tell you the interesting stat that most people don't know. I've studied and put over $700,000 into my brain.
Wow.
I'm serious. It's an actual fact. I'm gonna do $1 million in my brain and be like $1 million brain. That's gonna be my marketing tagline. The $1 million brain.
I love
so
it,
far,
man.
I've done 700K. And why? It's not because I'm any better or smarter or anything. It's because I keep seeking the next level mentor, because they're gonna show me something I don't know. All I need, and I learned this from Fred, one idea. Take one idea that they can give you, implement it. Take one idea and implement it. And that's what I do. And I'm at more seminars than I know what to do with.
Just like I said to you, Alok, I congratulate you for sharing and being vulnerable on that, man. But, back to you. Right now, I'm having a bit of a rut with my identity, because I'm being vulnerable too now, because I honestly, I know that I'm hitting a certain level of influence, but I still feel like just the guy that, shows up to your house and, hangs out and, talks about whatever we're doing on the weekend. And then I meet somebody that's for the first time seeing me, and they're like, wow, you're famous. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not famous, man. I'm just a guy that's consistent with the message. And I took that one thing and I'm really driving hard with it. But sometimes I'm like, I think I'm just, kind of an average, normal guy that likes to do what I do.
It's really interesting. I'll tell you, I've worked and talked with many, many high level people and people. I'm not even joking. Like people that take care of the king and queen, or excuse me, the prince and princess of England, Katy Perry, like doctors of this caliber. I've met some really high caliber people, people who have global influence. And here's an interesting thing to learn from, that I learned from, that I really humbled me. The people that actually have influence never talk about their influence. And the people that don't have influence, need to validate their influence. It's a very interesting perspective. And the people that are playing, and like you're talking about, like you and some of these other greats in chiropractic that are playing at a national, international level, it's just there. It's just who you are. And your reputation expresses that, and it grows beyond you, and your influence is greater than you, because you're just a person. We're all just people.
Exactly. But we build this like fortress of recognition around us. Either we choose it or we don't. And I think that as we go through this whole journey, like you writing a book, you getting onto national television, which we're going to segue into next. And those are some real important things, is when you elevate your perception of who you've become with your career, now you step into a different light. And I think that, you writing the book of The Art of Chasing Success, it wasn't for capital gain. It was for social positioning.
It really wasn't, truthfully,
No?
Jim. No. The Chasing Success book, you know, in having so many mentors, sometimes you got to quiet the mentors, right? And what I mean by that is this: is I've always had all these mentors to guide me and show me in different ways. But the book Chasing Success was actually something that I was inspired, and I took nobody's opinion in it, and it was contrary to everybody's opinion. And they said that don't write the book, and I said, you know what? I'm going to write it because I believe that there are more people struggling with this story than not. It's a fictional tale. It's a fictional tale that gives you the stories behind it. But does it give me social positioning? Yes. Does it give me national position? Yes. But the intent of it, and this is where the distinction, I think, at least for me, what I learned is that I didn't do it for the media. I didn't do it for the recognition. I did it to serve. And because of that, I'm getting the recognition. I'm getting the media, which becomes a different thing.
I feel like I'm in the same boat with you with what we're doing with Chiro Hustle and the documentary films. It's to share the bigger idea about what's going on with the profession and how we can build influence. And I think that that's one of the most important things that we do when we create something of value for the mass market.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing, right? It's a merger. It's a merger of what your expression is and what the masses and what the value of the world is. And this is the secret to wealth, and I hope people get this, is that your expression equaling other people's values is the secret to fulfillment and wealth in your life. Because you find enough people that want to buy what your highest expression is, and you find those values, and it doesn't matter if it's chiropractic, if it's selling widgets, selling, coaching, consulting, whatever it is you're doing, you merge those two together, and you have customers that want to buy your service at a high value and are willing to pay for it.
And we could go even one step further in that we could put that into national brands. We could put that into, the arena of high performance athletes. Like whatever we're looking at when people think about performance and having self-worth and merging that with future and, whether it's occupation, whether it's, even if you're like the guy that delivers pizza, like I used to be, I was the best damn pizza delivery guy on my team.
It's so interesting. You talk about athletes. I have a couple of ladies right now, a couple of women who are in the WNBA. One of them's a retired player from the WNBA. And you'd be surprised, Jim. It's really interesting. Like these are, pro level athletes that are playing at the highest level and functioning at the highest level. And even then, they love what they do, but their own internal value is still challenged. And it circles us back to kind of what we talk about in chiropractic and the extension of practice and living authentic and clear and aligned to who you are. It's a journey that we all search for, and there's a path and a process to get there now.
Yeah, and let's. I know we're pushing up on the edge of our time together, but let's talk a little bit more about media leverage and what it means for you to start getting more appearances on national television.
Well, media for me is credibility, right? And credibility is the gold ticket. I mean, it makes you let someone know that you're endorsed. You have an implied endorsement from somebody else, just like you, right, Jim? Like people get on your podcast, myself included. You're a chiro brand that you're building, and you disseminate this information, and send the information out to the world. It's your brand, in essence, endorsing that individual. So when I go on Fox News, I'm being endorsed, in essence, by Fox News. If I go on CNN, I'm endorsed, in essence, by CNN in their material. And you can use that logo for the rest of your life. That's what, and that's the power of media. That's the power of leveraging influencers that are higher than you. That's just a perfect segue to that. And for me, and this has been one of my missions always, is that for me as a chiropractor, I go on there. I'm a chiropractor. I used to be in practice. I do that. What I do is I'm taking chiropractic in my way, in my unique approach. I'm taking chiropractic to another platform and growing the scale of chiropractic from there by saying, this guy's a chiropractor playing on national TV. And that helps the brand, that helps chiropractic, that helps influence from every profession, the profession in a grander scale. That's the way I look at it, at least.
Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I became attracted to you, because I saw something that you were doing that a lot of people were interested in doing. And I'm like, well, this guy has the secret, information to get people to be able to find more value within themselves to where they can follow the same path and they can start getting themselves in positions of influence and recognition and building more value. And if my arena is chiropractic, then I need to link myself up with the people that are brandable, people that have a good message, have a good reputation in the marketplace. And then, like you said, what does that do? That cross-pollinates me with the leaders in the profession. And
Sure.
what that does then is elevates the whole profession if we put out good, consistent content that people are paying attention to. By the way, our show is trending right now so high. We doubled numbers from last month.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Well, what you're doing is amazing, Jim, right? Like you're out there serving these influencers, serving the people who put on the seminar, serving the community, serving chiropractic. Like it's just constant service. And I don't know if you have yet or you will, or you'll turn around and you're going to end up monetizing that in a big way. Whenever the time is right. If you are now, I don't even know. I really have no idea, but it will, because you're putting service first. And, so many people don't get that. It's like you serve first and then the rewards come on the back end. And you're just be open to giving from that capacity. Don't give at the cost of your soul. That's not what I mean. It's in fair exchange. Know what you're getting out of it. But there's a time when that banked leverage, law of reciprocity, comes in for sure.
So I guess I'm going to support these guys and I'm going to sponsor what this team is doing.
I'm sorry, Jim, you cut out there for a minute. I didn't catch what you said.
Oh, boy. I said, I guess this is at the point in the interview where I say to you, Alok, with Chiro Hustle, why did you decide that we were a group that you're going to support and help sponsor us?
Well, Jim, look, man, the reality is this. I love you. I love Luke. I love what you guys are doing. I love Luke is such a talented videographer. I love what he does, and being able to have, him do what he does and you assisting him on that side. And, what I love about you, Jim, is that you are so inspired about chiropractic and what it is and what it means. Back in the day when I was actively in practice, which is not that long ago, but, you remind me many ways of today's version of a Bill Esteb, who's not a chiropractor, but influenced by chiropractic, and is realizing that, you could go see patients, but you could use your skills in journalism to make a much bigger impact. You doing what it is you do. And that's the first thing I told you when I first met you. I'm like, you're going to have greater influence and help more people by being more of a journalist than you are ever being a chiropractor, because that's your path, not the adjusting path. That's not your path. My path is not to sit at a table and adjust. Liam, it's not his path to do that. Liam's path is to teach others. Everyone has their own path and their own process. And once we get in tune to that, do we make a greater impact? That's why I did it with you.
Well, hey, man, we appreciate the support. And I know that our future is very bright. We just keep growing. We keep on learning. I sat down with a guy that I went out and visited his practice in California a couple months ago. And we were at a closing session with Dr. Tim Young there at Focus OKC, and I just popped down on one knee and I said, "Hey man, I love you. Thank you for taking such good care of me when I came out to you and visited at your clinic." He goes, "Dude, I've been talking to the tribe and they said that you're the best that you've been today and that you're getting better every time we listen to you." And I was like, man, that just hits me right here. I feel so appreciative that I can own my space, not just share my space with other people, but I feel like I'm starting to own this space a lot more.
And you can see it, your energy, your radiance, your resonance, your confidence, all that is exuberating from it. Because as you feel it on the inside, it shows up on the outside.
Well, that's awesome, man. Is it okay if we go ahead and close out?
Absolutely, my friend.
I'm going to say thank you to the people that jumped on with us. Deanna Riggins, thank you so much. Andrew Stewart, thank you so much. I'm going to show your comment here. Stepping away from negativity, said, "Well said. This is great that you guys are talking about mentoring and keep pushing forward away from negativity." We have Liam Schubel on here. He's over in Austria. He is from the People's Republic of New Jersey, as everybody should always know. And he's always going live from the West Wing of the Schubel Mansion.
And lovely.
We have Jesse Ventosa, who is on fire. He is a student that said, wow. So there must have been some value in our talk for him. And Deanna Riggin says, still working on clearing, with some tears, because I think a lot of times people don't realize how self-gratifying it is when we start clearing up our mental subluxation, and how we start clearing up the subluxations that stop us from being the person that we're supposed to be. And just want to say thank you oh, go ahead, Luke.
Well, I was going to say, for any of these people, like, jump on a call, like, get on a call with me. Like, that website, thealignmastery.com, is a breakthrough call session where you call whatever's holding you back. Look, I'm going to tell you that obviously I'm in training, coaching, consulting, but that doesn't mean that you're right for my program. Let's get on a call. Let me help you through whatever's going on. And if it's right, it's a good fit, then we can talk about that in jumping on board. If nothing, I promise you, you're going to walk away with tremendous value of just getting on a call and clearing through some stuff. That's the main thing. I'm like you, Jim. I'm going to serve first, and then we'll figure out the business side of it on the other side. That's what I would recommend highly.
It's like the Gary Vaynerchuk jab, 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 right hook. You give, then you ask. And right. I think that's the right time to say, hey, if you guys are interested in working with Alok, alignmastery.com is the website. If you guys are watching this on replay and you found some value in this, hashtag Align Mastery in there. And just know that if you put Align Mastery in there, that Alok's going to reach out to you. And hopefully we can get you guys on one of these coaching calls to take you to the next level, away from, your thoughts and, what you thought you used to be. We can get you to where you need to be. And I appreciate you, Alok. And just want to close out here from Grand Junction, and you're closing out from Chicago, Illinois. And I just want to close out saying you're just one story away. Keep hustling. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, buddy.
See you on the next one.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.